Welcome, everyone. Ready to take a deep dive into the idea of WHY.
I'm ready.
Awesome. Our guide for this journey is Simon Sinek's book, Find Your Why. I'm so curious to explore how powerful this concept can be, not just for us as individuals, but for the teams and organizations we're all a part of.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's just about, feeling good.
Right. Like just a motivational thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's so much deeper than that. It really gets to the heart of why we do what we do, you know? That driving force behind our passions, our actions. It's more than just what we do or how we do it. It's that underlying purpose, the cause, the belief that fuels it all.
It's like that deeper meaning. Right.
Exactly.
So if it's more than just a feel-good factor, are there any real-world examples of how understanding your WHY can make a tangible difference?
Oh, the book is full of them. One that sticks out is the story of Emily, a recent college grad who totally aced her job interview.
Oh, not.
Yeah, she led with her WHY, and the interviewers were so impressed, not just by her skills, but by her genuine passion for using technology to, make a difference.
It's like a differentiator, right? Sets you apart.
It totally set her apart from other candidates,
Yeah.
even those with way more experience.
Wow, that's a compelling example. It's almost like having a secret weapon.
It really is.
Oh.
But it goes beyond just, impressing people in an interview. It's about making choices, like in your life and work, that are truly in sync with what you believe in.
Decisions that align with your values.
Exactly. The book talks about these two business partners, Susan and Jim. They were trying to hire for this, really important position.
Mm.
And they had this candidate who, on paper, looked absolutely perfect.
Oh, wow, the dream candidate.
Right. But something felt off.
Interesting.
Yeah, and after going through their own why discovery process, they realized that the candidate's beliefs just didn't line up with their company's WHY.
Ah, I see. So knowing their WHY helped them avoid a potentially bad hire.
Exactly. Even though it meant delaying the hire, they knew it was the right call.
That's huge. Talk about a valuable compass for decision-making.
And, it's not just individuals. When teams and organizations have that shared WHY, it's like this incredible unifying force.
Yeah.
Creates a sense of belonging, a shared purpose.
So powerful.
Really powerful.
Okay, so I'm getting why this is so important, but how do we actually go about finding our WHY?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah, is it something we need to, invent, or is it more about uncovering something that's already there?
It's more like an archaeological dig, I'd say. Uncovering what's already deep within you. The book lays out this process that's all about storytelling.
Interesting.
Yeah, those peak experiences in your life, both the positive ones and the challenging ones. Because it's in those moments that your WHY really shines through.
Oh, that's interesting that the challenging times are included. I wouldn't instinctively associate those with discovering my WHY.
Yeah, think about it, though. When we face adversity, our true values and motivations, they come to the surface. The book uses an example of someone who always visited their grandparents for Christmas.
Nice tradition.
Yeah. But when they shared just the general story, it's kind of surface level. It felt good to be with family.
Right, pretty generic.
But when they get specific and talked about that last Christmas with their grandfather and how he inspired them to embrace being different, that's where the real insights came out.
So it's about digging into those specific stories to unlock the WHY.
It's all about the details. And as you go through those stories, you start noticing these recurring themes.
Okay.
Like patterns, right? These patterns reveal your values, what motivates you, the kind of impact you want to have on the world. It's like weaving a tapestry.
They do.
You're pulling all those threads together to create the bigger picture.
And that's where the WHY statement comes in, right?
Yeah, exactly. The book breaks down Simon Sinek's WHY statement structure as a guide. You're combining your contribution with the impact you want to make. Like articulating the essence of what drives you.
Okay.
But it's not just about writing it down. The book also talks about this cool thing called the Friends exercise.
The Friends exercise. That sounds intriguing.
It's all about getting feedback and refining your statement.
So you involve other people.
Yeah, you ask a close friend a simple question. Why are you friends with me?
Oh, wow.
And you push past those surface level answers like you're funny or whatever.
Yeah, it goes deeper.
It's about encouraging them to articulate what unique value you bring to their life, how you make them feel, the impact you have.
That's a question I've never actually asked my friends. Seems a little awkward.
It can be a little awkward, but it can also be really profound.
That's a good point.
The book shares an example of one friend's response. You make me laugh, which is fun, But it also makes me realize that we see the world the same way. When I tell you what my boss said and you make a joke about it, I not only laugh, but I also feel reassured that my boss is the crazy one, not me.
So it's not just about the humor, it's about that deeper connection. I like that.
Right. Goes beyond the surface.
So we've got this individual process, but what about teams and organizations? Can they also have a WHY?
Oh, absolutely. The book dedicates a whole section to what they call the tribe approach.
Okay.
It's all about discovering a shared WHY that brings teams together.
So it's not just everyone figuring out their own individual WHY and then kind of comparing notes.
No, it's way more collaborative than that.
Yeah.
It's about unearthing those stories and experiences that reveal a collective WHY.
Interesting.
They use this example of a company called La Marzocco. They make those high-end espresso machines.
Oh, I've heard of them.
You might think their WHY is just to make great coffee machines, but when they did a tribe-wide discovery session, something much deeper came out.
I bet. What was it?
Well, through storytelling and identifying common themes, they realized that their WHY was about bringing people together, fostering community through the shared experience of coffee.
Wow. So it's not about the product itself, it's about the impact it has on people's lives.
Exactly. It's about creating connections, sparking conversations, even inspiring creativity and innovation.
That's powerful. And I'm guessing this shared WHY is reflected in everything they do?
It is. They sponsor coffee events, they create initiatives that support coffee growing communities, and they even bring together competitors and enthusiasts to share ideas.
That's amazing. So how does this tribe approach actually work?
Well, the book stresses the importance of a skilled facilitator, someone who can ensure everyone feels heard and that the WHY that emerges is authentic to the group.
Right, because you need that objectivity.
Exactly. And they have this activity called the three conversations. It's a structured process of storytelling and theme identification.
Okay, what happens during these conversations?
First, you create a safe space for open and honest sharing. Imagine a room full of people from your organization, different departments, different levels of seniority.
Sounds like a wonderfully diverse group, all united by this common goal.
It is. And in the first conversation, each team shares stories that highlight the best of the organization. For example, at La Marzocco, someone shared about how the company sponsored a photography exhibit showcasing the lives of coffee farmers in Tanzania,
What a beautiful way to connect their work to a greater purpose.
isn't it? And then in the second conversation, they identify those common threads that run through the stories, the recurring themes that point to the organization's values. And then in the third conversation, the real magic happens.
Oh, I like where this is going.
They refine those themes, and they identify the one or two that resonate as the heart of the organization's WHY.
So it's about building on each other's stories and insights to arrive at that shared WHY. That's a powerful process. But once you have that WHY, whether individual or collective, what do you do with it?
That's where the HOWs come in.
The HOW.
Yeah. The actions we take to live out our WHY on a daily basis, think of them as the tangible expressions of your purpose.
So it's about taking action.
Exactly. For example, one of the authors, David, his WHY is propelling people forward so they can make their mark on the world. His HOWs include things like seeing the big picture, taking responsibility, exploring alternative perspectives. Each of those translates his WHY into concrete actions.
So HOWs are like guiding principles, helping us make decisions and take actions that are in alignment with our WHY. Makes sense.
And you know what? Remember all those themes that come up during the why discovery process?
Yeah.
The ones that didn't make it into your WHY statement?
Yeah.
Those are actually the seeds of your HOWs.
Oh, so nothing is wasted. This is blowing my mind.
It's brilliant, right?
So brilliant. It's like the entire process is feeding into a more purpose-driven life or organization.
Exactly. The book then guides you through refining those themes into a set of actionable HOWs. And they share this really great anecdote about Southwest Airlines that perfectly illustrates how a company's WHY can show up in seemingly small actions.
Ooh, I love a good anecdote. Tell me more.
Peter, one of the authors, was at the airport and saw a flight attendant struggling to load bags onto the plane.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and the captain, instead of staying in the cockpit, got out and helped.
Wow. That speaks volumes.
Right. It exemplifies their WHY of putting people first, showing that it's not just a slogan, but woven into their everyday actions.
That's incredible. I'm starting to see how this whole WHY concept can be a real game changer. But what happens if a company loses sight of its WHY? Does it all just fall apart?
Unfortunately, it can, and the book calls this the split. When an organization's actions no longer align with its core values,
The split sounds bad.
it's not good. You start seeing things like decreased passion, people relying on extrinsic motivators like bonuses instead of that intrinsic drive, and a general erosion of trust.
Yeah, it's like the soul of the company starts to fade.
They contrast Walmart, which, after the founder, Sam Walton, passed away, shifted towards a more profit-driven focus, with Costco.
Oh, yeah.
Costco has stayed true to their people-first WHY, focusing on employees and customers, and they've been wildly successful because of it. They're actually more profitable than Walmart in the long run.
That's amazing. So there's actual proof that a purpose-driven approach can lead to greater financial success.
That's not just good for morale, it's good for business, too.
It's like this virtuous cycle, right?
It creates loyalty and trust from employees and customers, which, translates to long-term success.
It makes so much sense. I've heard some folks dismiss the whole WHY thing as a little fluffy or theoretical. Do the authors address that?
Oh, they do. They actually ground the WHY concept in science, specifically the biology of human decision-making.
Interesting.
Yeah, they explain how our brains are wired to prioritize emotions over rational thought.
So we're not always as logical as we think we are.
Exactly. The part of the brain responsible for our gut feelings, those beliefs and values, is called the limbic system. And guess what? That's the same part of the brain that responds to WHYs.
So WHYs are tapping into a fundamental part of our biology.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
They use examples like stock market fluctuations driven by sentiment,
Mm-hmm.
or like the car emissions scandal, where that emotional betrayal of trust had a way bigger impact than the facts and data.
Those are great examples.
Then they contrast that with Tesla. People were pre-ordering cars that didn't even exist yet. They were buying into the vision, the WHY behind Tesla.
Yeah. So it's powerful stuff.
It really is.
Okay, you've convinced me. This WHY concept is the real deal. But I have to admit, the process of uncovering my own WHY still feels kind of daunting.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
But the book breaks it down into these really manageable steps. Be patient with yourself and trust the process.
That's reassuring.
They even share their own early struggles, reminding us that it's okay to stumble along the way.
It makes it feel more relatable, not just something for gurus and thought leaders.
Exactly. We all have a WHY, and this book gives us the tools to help us find it.
This is making me excited to start my own WHY finding journey.
That's great.
But before we jump in head first, are there any other common pitfalls or challenges that we should be aware of?
One thing they talk about is the potential to feel lost or uninspired, even after you've discovered your WHY.
Wait, so you can know your WHY and still feel lost?
It can happen, especially if we're not actively living our WHY.
Ah, I see. It's not enough to just know it. You have to actually live it.
They call it the split, that disconnect between our values and our actions. They emphasize that your WHY is a verb, not a noun.
I love that.
It's about putting those values into action.
It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. And they offer some tips for staying connected, like incorporating your WHY into your daily routines,
Oh.
using it as a guide for making decisions, surrounding yourself with people who believe in what you believe in.
Great advice. It's about making your WHY a conscious part of everything you do.
And that can make such a difference.
Absolutely. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of WHY. Still buzzing from our last conversation.
Me too.
I have so many more questions. Like, what happens when life throws you a curveball?
Oh, yeah.
You think you found your WHY, but then things change. Circumstances shift. Suddenly, it doesn't feel quite right anymore.
Happens to all of us.
Can your WHY actually change?
That's a great question. And actually, the authors address that directly. They're pretty firm in their belief that your WHY is a fundamental part of who you are, and it doesn't change, at its core.
So no matter what life throws at you, your WHY remains constant.
Yeah, but they also acknowledge that our understanding of our WHY, that can evolve.
Okay.
We're constantly growing, having new experiences, and those experiences can definitely add depth and nuance to how we perceive our WHY.
So it's not that our WHY changes, but our perspective on it can shift.
Exactly. They use this great analogy of cake. When it first comes out of the oven, it's hot and gooey. If you try to cut into it,
They'll fall apart.
totally. But as it cools and sets, it becomes more solid and defined. Our WHY is kind of like that.
Interesting.
It takes time and experience for it to fully take shape.
I like that. It makes perfect sense. So even if we're feeling a bit lost, it might not mean we need to find a brand new WHY.
Right?
Maybe we just need to spend some time reflecting, reconnecting with what's already inside of us.
Totally. And another question that comes up a lot is, Can someone have multiple WHYs?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, can you have a WHY for work and a different one for your personal life? It can definitely feel that way sometimes.
Absolutely.
The book is pretty clear. We have one true WHY.
Okay.
It's that unifying force that drives us in all aspects of our lives.
So no matter where we are or what we're doing, it's this constant companion.
They make a really interesting point. If you're different at work than you are at home, in one of those two places, you're lying.
Wow, that's powerful. A good reminder to strive for authenticity. So no multiple WHYs. What else trips people up?
Well, another common one is, can your WHY be something tangible, like making a lot of money or achieving a certain level of success?
Interesting.
Those things are definitely motivating for a lot of people, but are they really WHY worthy?
Right. Good question.
According to the book, no. A true WHY is about purpose, not profit. About the impact you want to make, the contribution you want to leave behind.
So money and success, while they can be nice, they're not the driving force behind a truly inspiring WHY.
Right. They use the example of Walmart, which, after the founder, Sam Walton, passed away,
Yeah.
shifted away from his people first WHY and became more profit-driven.
Didn't we talk about them comparing Walmart to Costco?
Yeah. Costco provides a great counterpoint. They've stayed true to their people first WHY, focusing on both employees and customers.
Yeah.
And they've been super successful because of it.
Attention.
They're actually more profitable in the long run than Walmart.
So there's actual proof that a purpose-driven approach can lead to greater financial success.
It's not just the right thing to do, it can also be the smart thing to do.
Love that. But I got to be honest, I've heard people dismiss this whole WHY concept as like a bit fluffy, nice in theory, but not really applicable to the real world. Have you ever run into that?
Definitely. And you know what? The authors address it head on.
Okay, good.
They actually ground the WHY concept in science, like the biology behind human decision-making.
Okay.
They talk about how our brains are wired in a way that prioritizes emotions over rational thought.
So our hearts rule our heads.
Sometimes. The part of the brain responsible for our gut feelings, our beliefs, is called the limbic system. And that's the same part of the brain that responds to WHYs.
So WHYs are tapping into a fundamental part of our biology.
Exactly. They use the example of like stock market fluctuations driven by sentiment, or like the car emissions scandal, where that emotional betrayal of trust had a much bigger impact than the facts and the data.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then they contrast that with Tesla. Even though they didn't even have a car in production at the time, they racked up hundreds of thousands of pre-orders for their Model 3 because people believed in the vision, the WHY behind the company.
They were buying into the idea more than the product.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how emotions can be more powerful than logic, especially when it comes to decision-making.
Incredible. So understanding the science behind WHY can really make us more persuasive.
And impactful.
Yeah, whether we're trying to inspire a team, build a brand, or just connect with people.
Definitely. It's all about tapping into that shared humanity.
Okay, I'm feeling even more on board with this whole WHY thing. But that process of uncovering my own WHY, it still feels kind of daunting.
I totally get it. It can feel overwhelming at first, but the book, it does a great job of breaking it down into manageable steps.
Okay, that helps.
And remember, it's a journey. Be patient with yourself.
So no pressure to have it all figured out immediately.
Exactly. And they even share some of their own struggles with articulating their WHYs, which makes the whole process feel much more relatable and approachable.
I like that.
It's not just something that gurus can achieve. It's something we can all strive for.
We all have a WHY just waiting to be discovered.
And the book gives us the tools to do it.
This has been so insightful. It's making me look at the world in a new way.
Glad to hear that.
But before we go all in, are there any other common pitfalls, any challenges that we should be aware of?
One thing they address is the possibility of feeling lost or uninspired, even after you've figured out your WHY.
Wait, so you can know your WHY and still feel lost?
It happens, especially if you're not actively living in alignment with your WHY.
It's that disconnect, that split, right?
Exactly. They emphasize that your WHY is a verb, not a noun.
It's not static.
You got to put it into practice.
Okay.
They give some helpful tips for staying connected. Incorporate it into your daily routines. Use it as a filter for making decisions. Surround yourself with people who believe in what you believe in.
Surround yourself with your tribe.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's about making conscious choices.
The little things add up.
Yeah, and those actions can actually have a ripple effect.
They can inspire other people to connect with their own WHYs.
That's really cool. I'm curious about how all of this works at, like, an organizational level.
Yeah.
We talked about the tribe approach for discovering a shared WHY.
Right.
But what about those big companies, the ones with like multiple divisions and departments, different locations even? Can they really have one single unifying WHY that resonates with everyone?
That's a great question, and the book tackles it directly.
Okay,
It can definitely be more challenging
I can imagine.
for larger organizations to maintain that clear and consistent WHY.
So many moving parts.
They actually use the analogy of a country. Like America, for instance, has a WHY, but so do the states and the cities within it.
It's like a nested structure.
Exactly.
A larger overarching WHY, and then more specific WHYs that all fit underneath.
And the key is for those smaller WHYs to be in harmony with the overall WHY.
It makes sense.
That creates a sense of unity, even at a large scale.
So even within, like, a huge company, each person can feel connected to something bigger.
Exactly. And it's super important for leaders at all levels
Yeah.
to not just understand the WHY, but to embody it, to communicate it, make sure it's woven into the culture of the organization.
Absolutely. It's about creating that culture of shared purpose.
But what happens when someone's individual WHY just doesn't fit with their current job? When you feel kind of stuck in a role or an organization that doesn't resonate with your core values.
Yeah. How do you navigate that?
That's a tough one. But the book does offer some guidance. They acknowledge that sometimes you just can't force a square peg into a round hole.
Right.
And we always have a choice.
Yeah.
We can either try to make the best of the situation, focus on those aspects of our work that do align with our WHY, or we can make the decision to seek out opportunities that are a better fit.
So it's about knowing when to stay and when to move on.
Exactly. And they emphasize that moving towards something, a role, an organization that aligns with your WHY is always more empowering than just moving away from something that isn't working.
Yeah. Such an important distinction. So it's about taking ownership of our journey.
And making choices that lead us to a more fulfilling life.
And it's not always about those grand gestures.
Right.
It's about finding purpose and meaning in those everyday moments.
Exactly. Those little acts of kindness.
Yeah.
The connections we make.
Yeah.
Those small contributions that can actually make a big difference.
It's about finding those little ways to live your WHY.
And those actions, even though they might seem small, they can inspire others to connect with their own WHYs as well.
I love that.
It's a beautiful ripple effect.
It really is. This has been such an insightful conversation.
We agree.
I feel so much more equipped to not only discover my own WHY, but to also live it authentically.
That's amazing. I'm so glad.
And I hope our listeners are feeling inspired too.
Me too.
This is just the beginning of your WHY journey.
There's so much more to explore.
Find Your Why is a fantastic resource, and there are so many other amazing resources out there too.
So keep searching, keep learning, keep connecting with your purpose.
And most importantly, keep living your WHY.
Because that's how we make a difference in the world.
Absolutely. Welcome back to our deep dive into WHY. We've come to the final part of our exploration.
I know, it's gone by so fast.
It has. We've uncovered so much already.
Yeah, the power of purpose.
Learned how to discover our WHY.
And those tangible actions, the HOWs, that make it real.
It's been fascinating. But as with anything worthwhile, the real work begins after that initial discovery.
Right, like how do you keep that momentum going?
Yeah, exactly. How do we sustain that sense of purpose over time? It's like when you start a new workout routine.
Yeah.
You have all that motivation.
So much energy.
Yeah. But keeping it going, that's the challenge.
I love that comparison. And the book actually gives us some great insights into how to avoid that split,
Yeah.
that disconnect between our values and our actions.
That can so easily creep in.
Over time, it definitely can.
So we need like a WHY maintenance plan.
I love
A
that.
way to keep that internal engine running.
The book calls it Living Your WHY.
Oh.
And it's all about integrating your purpose into every aspect of your life.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a one-time discovery.
Right. It's an ongoing process.
Okay, that makes sense.
And they emphasize that living your WHY isn't about perfection. It's about progress.
That is reassuring because life is messy.
It is.
And we're all going to stumble along the way.
They use the analogy of learning to ride a bike.
Oh, I like this.
Remember that feeling? Awkward, wobbly.
You fall a few times.
You get back up, you keep trying, and eventually it becomes second nature.
So it's the same with living our WHY.
Yeah, takes practice, you're going to make mistakes, but the more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
And they talk about celebrating those small wins along the way.
Yes.
Those moments when you make choices that align with your WHY, even if they seem small,
Because they build momentum,
they reinforce those pathways.
making it easier to keep making those WHY-aligned choices.
So some practical tips.
Okay.
Starting each day with a reminder.
Of your purpose.
Using your WHY as a filter for decisions.
And sharing it with others.
Oh, interesting.
To create a sense of accountability.
It's like having a workout buddy. Someone to keep you motivated and on track.
They call it a WHY buddy.
I love that.
Someone to support you on your journey.
And finding your tribe, those people who inspire you to live your WHY fully.
Yeah, those like-minded people who share your values.
It's so powerful to be surrounded by those people.
But even with all that support, there will be challenges.
Yeah, life is full of them.
Setbacks that really test our commitment.
So how do we navigate those without losing sight of our WHY?
The book emphasizes that those challenges are actually opportunities. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about how we respond to it.
It's about resilience.
It's about grit.
Having the strength to get back up and keep moving forward.
They share a story about someone on their team who faced major personal challenges,
Oh, wow.
but never lost sight of his WHY.
So inspiring.
And those challenges actually deepened his understanding of his purpose.
It fueled his determination.
Even more.
That's so powerful.
So yeah, our WHY can be a source of strength, especially during those tough times.
And they give practical tips, right, for navigating those challenges.
Yes. Revisit your WHY statement.
Just remind yourself.
Connect with your WHY buddy for support.
Oh, yeah, call your buddy.
And remember that setbacks are normal.
They're part of the journey.
It's okay to stumble as long as we keep moving forward.
It's about self-compassion, being kind to ourselves.
Exactly. And sometimes those challenges can lead to breakthroughs. It's like those aha moments where you suddenly understand yourself and your purpose in a whole new way.
It's like those bumps in the road can actually lead to a more fulfilling path.
Exactly. I think it's important to remember that living your WHY isn't always about those big achievements.
It's not about changing the world overnight.
Right. It's about those everyday moments.
The little things.
Those small acts of kindness, the connections we make, the things we do for our communities.
It's about finding purpose and meaning in those ordinary moments.
And even the smallest actions can create a ripple effect.
Inspiring others.
To connect with their own WHYs.
It's beautiful.
It really is.
This has been so insightful.
I agree.
And so inspiring. I feel so much more equipped to not only discover my WHY, but to live it authentically.
I'm so glad to hear that. And I hope our listeners are feeling inspired as well.
This is just the beginning of your WHY journey, folks. Find Your Why is an amazing resource, and there are so many other great resources out there too.
So keep searching, keep learning, and keep connecting with your purpose.
And keep living your WHY, because it's in those moments of alignment and action that we truly thrive and make a difference.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
Me too. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into WHY. Until next time.
Keep seeking.
And keep diving deep.